As the sun peeks over the horizon, Daisy, our little duck heroine, opens her eyes to a new day. Nestled in a tranquil pond, surrounded by lush greenery and the song of the morning birds, lives Daisy. Our feathered friend is no ordinary duckling. She's curious, adventurous, and full of life. Her days are usually spent exploring the nooks and crannies of her home, swimming in the cool pond water, and playing with her siblings under the watchful eyes of their parents. The pond, their home, is a peaceful haven. A symphony of croaking frogs, rustling leaves, and the gentle lapping of water against the shore. It's a place that offers comfort and safety. Daisy's family, a lively bunch of quacking ducks, is her constant, her source of joy and companionship. But today, Daisy felt a pull for something different, an adventure calling her name. With a sparkle in her eye and a flutter in her heart, Daisy made a decision. That decision, my friends, was no ordinary choice. It was a declaration of courage, a proclamation of spirit. Our Daisy, the darling of the duck pond, chose to venture beyond the familiar ripples of her home to explore the great unknown. A heady mix of excitement and fear swirled within her. Excitement for the promise of adventure, the prospect of new friends, and the thrill of discovery. Fear for the uncertainty of what lay ahead, the potential dangers, and the chance of losing her way. Yet within Daisy, the spark of curiosity burned brighter than the shadow of fear. Like a seasoned explorer, Daisy began her preparations. She practiced her flying, honed her navigation skills, and ate plenty to build her strength. Each day she watched the sun's journey across the sky, mapping her route in her mind. She was a duck on a mission, determined, focused, and ready for whatever came her way. But Daisy's decision was not received with the same enthusiasm by everyone. Her family and friends, comfortable in their routine, couldn't understand her desire for exploration. Concerned whispers rippled through the pond. Why would Daisy leave the safety of the pond? What if she gets lost? What if she never comes back? Despite the doubts and worries, Daisy remained resolute. She comforted her family, reassuring them of her return. She promised her friends to bring back stories of her adventures. She was not just a duck, she was Daisy, the explorer, the adventurer, the brave. With a final look at her familiar home, Daisy set off, not knowing what awaited her. As she took her first flight into the unknown, the sparkle in her eye reflected the sun's early morning rays, and her heart fluttered with the promise of a daring day out. Her journey had begun, and the world was waiting to welcome our intrepid adventurer. Away from the comforts of her pond, Daisy found herself in a world full of surprises. As she ventured further, Daisy encountered new creatures she had only ever heard about in the quacking tales of older ducks. Each encounter was an adventure in itself. A sly fox, a chatty squirrel, a towering giraffe. These were all characters of Daisy's daring day out. The fox, with his gleaming eyes and sharp teeth, was a sight to behold. But Daisy, our brave little duck, didn't flutter a feather. She held her ground, and with a stern quack, she sent the fox scampering away. Daisy was not just a duck, she was a symbol of courage. Next, Daisy met a squirrel, a creature she'd never seen before. The squirrel was in a rush, always on the move, collecting acorns for the winter. Daisy watched as the squirrel darted up and down the trees, fascinated by its agility. The squirrel taught Daisy that life could be fast and furious, but there was always time to prepare for the future. Then came the giraffe, a creature so tall Daisy had to crane her neck to see its face. The giraffe, with its long legs and even longer neck, was a sight that fascinated Daisy. She admired the giraffe's height and grace, and in that moment, Daisy understood that different didn't mean dangerous. As Daisy navigated these new landscapes, the dense woods, the tall grass, the fast-flowing river, she didn't falter. She quacked her way through, using her quick thinking to solve problems and her bravery to face challenges. Daisy was not just a duck anymore, she was an explorer, an adventurer, a survivor. But as Daisy moved further away from her familiar pond, she began to feel a pang of homesickness. She missed the cool water, the familiar quacks of her fellow ducks, the safety of her home. As the sun began to set, Daisy realized she was lost. The world was suddenly a much bigger place, and Daisy was just a little duck in the grand scheme of things. In the darkness, alone and scared, Daisy had to face her greatest challenge yet. Imagine, if you will, a tiny duck named Daisy, far from the comfort of her pond, lost in the vast unknown. The darkness of the night was not simply a lack of light for her, it was a symbol of her solitude, her fear, and her desperation. She was alone, a tiny feathered creature in a world too vast, too overwhelming, but she was not without courage. In the midst of her fear, Daisy found a strength she didn't know she had. She was a duck, yes, but she was also a survivor. She knew she needed to find shelter, a safe place to rest her weary body and wait for the sun to rise. With every beat of her small heart, she pushed forward, relying on her instincts to guide her through the dark. She navigated through the shadows, her eyes straining to make out shapes in the blackness. Every rustle of leaves, every distant hoot of an owl sent a shiver down her spine. But she didn't let fear control her. She used it. Every shiver, every quack of alarm guided her away from danger and towards safety. She found herself in a thicket of bushes, a small oasis of safety in the midst of the dark forest. It wasn't the comfortable nest she was used to, but it was shelter. She nestled down, tucking her head under her wing, her tiny body trembling with exhaustion and fear. But even in her fear, Daisy was not without hope. She knew the night was just a period of time, that it would pass and day would come again. She understood that every challenge she faced, every predator she avoided was a step closer to her home, her familiar pond with its calm waters and friendly faces. And so she waited. She waited for the night to pass, for the first light of dawn to break the darkness. And as she waited, she grew stronger. She grew wiser. She grew braver. As the first light of dawn touched the sky, Daisy found herself near a familiar sight. She had made it through the long night, and with the rising sun, she was finally ready to face the day. With a sigh of relief and a heart full of gratitude, Daisy stepped back into her beloved pond. Home, sweet home. Nothing quite compares to the familiar, soothing ripples of the water, the cooing of her kin, and the gentle rustle of reeds in the wind. The pond was alive with the chatter of her feathered friends, each quacking wildly, their relief palpable as they welcomed their brave adventurer back into the fold. It was a joyous reunion, one filled with nuzzles and gentle pecks, a flurry of feathers, and a cacophony of quacks that echoed across the pond. They had missed Daisy, and their relief at her safe return was as clear as the water they swam in. But it wasn't just relief that filled their eyes. It was awe too. Awe at Daisy's courage, at her audacity to venture out into the unknown, to brave the wild and return unscathed. And Daisy, oh Daisy, she was different, the same yet changed. The soft, timid duckling who had left the pond was no more. In her place stood a confident, wise duck. Her eyes held a spark of adventure. Her feathers seemed to shine with a newfound radiance. The world beyond the pond had shaped her, molded her into a duck who knew her worth, who understood the world a little better. She held her head high, her quack stronger, her stride more purposeful. The pond was her home, yes, but she had seen what lay beyond it. She had tasted adventure, felt the thrill of the unknown, and had returned stronger, braver. The pond, her family, her friends, they were all the same, yet they felt different, because Daisy was different. She had ventured out, had faced the unknown, and had come back, bringing with her tales of adventure, of bravery, of a world beyond the pond. Looking back at her daring day out, Daisy realized that sometimes the greatest adventures lead you right back home. And so, Daisy's daring day out became a tale told and retold around the pond. Daisy, our brave little duck, had set off into the unknown, armed with nothing but her unyielding curiosity and an adventurous spirit. She experienced the exhilaration of exploration, the thrill of the unexpected, and the tranquility of solitude, all in a single day. Her journey was not without its challenges, but Daisy faced them with courage and resilience, learning with each step she took. The unknown became familiar, the frightening became intriguing, and the impossible became achievable. Daisy grew, not just in miles traversed, but in wisdom gained and confidence earned. This adventure taught Daisy that while the world is vast and full of wonders, it is also a place where she could find her own strength and courage. It opened her eyes to her own potential and instilled in her a newfound sense of self. For Daisy, it was more than an adventure. It was a journey of self-discovery, a testament to her courage, and a reminder that no matter how far you roam, there's no place